What's up, A to Z Sports here live on a Thursday. Going to have a good wide receiver conversation. All wide receiver conversations are usually good because people like talking about them. And this team is particularly interesting when it comes to the conversations about this unit. So today we're going to take the Titans wide receiver philosophy that Easton, you heard more about at OTA practice on Tuesday. And then we're going to take the wide receivers that are on this roster and put them in buckets that are locks to make the roster, guys who are just likely to make the roster, but not locks. Then you have toss-ups, and then you have the long shots. So all wide receivers, which there are like 13 of them on this roster, I think, all of them will be sorted into their houses, right? We're going to get this little, like, if you want to go Harry Potter on it, we can do that little, the hat.
The sorting hat?
The sorting hat. Yeah, right. I thought it was a better name than that. It's just the sorting hat.
It is just the sorting hat.
Which is great. I like the simplicity behind it. But going to have a great show today talking wide receivers, hearing from Brian Callahan on how the wide receiver philosophy actually changes. Who cannot just make the roster, but actually have an impact on this roster and on this team, on the football field. So, Easton, welcome in. Let's get this thing going. And I'm glad you got your computer update out of the way. Computer updates, just like Zoom updates, they happen right when you're trying to use it. Same thing happens with my TV. My TV needs a software update. We always pass it because, like, we're using the TV.
Right.
Like, if I could just, like, schedule the update for when I'm not using the TV, that would make sense.
We have so many smart things in this world that you'd think that we'd have technology that could, on its own, maybe schedule these updates for times that it knows you aren't likely to, 3 a.m. Let's do the update then. Happy to do the update.
You know what? Shout out Comcast, Xfinity. They always do their updates at 3 a.m.
Good for them. They know what they're doing.
One thing they do right.
Let's say one good thing on their ledger.
Like, it's like you settle down on the couch, like, all right, let's see, your dinner's good, you got things settled, you turn the TV on, like, let's watch a few episodes. It's like, bing, software update available. Do you want it? Like, no, of course not. No, I worked really hard to get to this point. No, I don't want this update.
Well, usually it pops up and it's like, we're going to do the update right now unless you don't want to, and you can, like, snooze the update. But I'd gotten up and walked away, and I think the timer ran out, and I came back, and it's just spinning circles, and I'm like, oh, no. But it is what it is. We're here now and excited to talk about some receivers with you guys. So appreciate your patience and appreciate you being here live with us on a Thursday morning. Losing track of time.
Today's
Thursday morning. The week's almost over. That's exciting. And so we need you to do a couple of things before we dive into the wide receiver topic. First, like the show. If you're watching with us on Facebook or on YouTube, we need those likes this morning. We appreciate those likes. They're very helpful for us. And it's your ticket to get into the chat. We want to see your thoughts on today's conversation. So join our friends already in there in Bearded Kunu, Travis Knight, Boston Diamond, Denise, Titans Kyle, number of Vanessa. Good morning to all of you guys. Join them over there on Facebook or on YouTube. Jump into the chat, like the show, and let's get it started.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome to A to Z Sports here on this Thursday. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Easton Freeze. We are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Continue to leave the 5-star Google reviews because those are fantastic and help us grow as a company overall.
They also help us feel fantastic.
They do because they're nice usually. Like somebody, the latest one was like, I love the content that A to Z puts out. I'm like, oh, thank you very much for that 5-star Google review comment. But we also got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you. Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process. Get them in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. And our friends at the Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all of your insurance needs. They are local and also online at bartondrury.com. I have to make a comment before we dive into this receiver thing.
Okay.
I am wearing a shirt that is very blue. But the shirt that you have on is all the way blue.
I was literally thinking this, and I thought about bringing it up, but I'm like, nah, I won't. I'm glad you did.
That is the most blue I have seen the color blue in my entire life.
It
And
is
it's like
bright.
if you like, yes, did you put the contrast or brightness all the way up? I mean, that is blue,
No,
man.
I mean it is like a blue highlighter color blue shirt. So it pops on the show. I kind of like it. I
Yeah,
don't think I've ever worn it
I
on the show
I
before.
like it too. Send me the link.
All
I mean,
right.
that thing is freaking blue, man. It is wild how blue that is. And I wear blue, green, and shades of gray. That's
Uh-huh.
my entire closet.
Yeah, shout
Uh,
out to Gap Athleisure. No free
oh,
shouts, but
Gap, nice.
Gap.
You're rocking the Gap today.
And you know what? I'm not sure the last time I was in a Gap store, but they had them at Costco, and my wife brought me home a bunch, and I'm like, these are comfortable, thank you.
There you go.
And
Yeah,
so
it
here
is
we go. So I've got other shades of them that I'll debut on the show in the future. So stay tuned.
blue AF.
It is.
Absolutely. All right. So let's dive into the wide receiver conversation here, Easton, because we've talked a decent amount of wide receivers. Obviously, it's a very fun position to talk about. People like talking about them. We like watching the drills that receivers do.
Let's
But
be honest, it's the go-to position to talk about this time of year.
yeah, but I mean,
Every year, the go-to.
because I think receivers are doing the thing in shorts and t-shirt that translates most to full pads.
Yep, them and quarterbacks.
And
Because like
kickers,
running backs this time of year, tight ends are just worse receivers this time of year. All the defenders aren't hitting anybody, so it's like, okay, a nice corner is exciting, I guess, but beyond that, and the linemen are not also in pads. So it's like, it's receivers and quarterbacks is what we focus on until we get the pads on.
Because you can throw the ball and you can catch the ball and you can get
That's right.
open and you can be quick and flashy and do all the things, right? So we've had so many conversations because they drafted 2 receivers in the 4th round. They've added a veteran in Van Jefferson. They added Tyler Lockett right before the draft, who we have still yet to see because he is dealing with some type of soft tissue injury. He's in the building, but not out there practicing yet. So we'll see if he makes it for mandatory minicamp on the field at all next week. But there's some new pieces here. And then there's the talk of the town, undrafted free agent Xavier Restrepo. And then there's the talk of the town for a different reason, former first-round pick Traylon Burks, who's doing more than we expected at this point. So there's a lot of variables in this receiver conversation. And you learned more about the Titans wide receiver philosophy from Brian Callahan this past week at OTA practice. I'll let you take it from here to set up this audio clip, and then we'll have our sorting, our wide receiver sorting hat show here.
By the way, how many receivers did you say earlier that you thought the Titans had?
I think they're 13. It was 13.
It's exactly 13. I was impressed. Good job.
Thank you.
There were 12, and then they signed TJ Sheffield, and now they're 13.
I remember weird things like that. And if they have a number attached to it, I'm more likely to remember it. So
fair enough. So we talked with Brian Callahan on Tuesday about their wide receiver philosophy when it comes to positional versatility. And, the NFL in this way kind of feels like the past couple of years we were going the way of the NBA with this positionless ball at the receiver position. Long gone is the days of, Randy Moss is our X and he's only going to line up wide forever and always. And that's where he's going to get 100% of his production. Like, the guys in the past that's a fun, way deep offseason show topic for like a deep dive on which receivers in the past would have had much better careers if they hadn't been siphoned into just one position and been allowed to play around, because some of these bigger body guys are winning on the inside because of the mismatches that they're getting. Some of these really speedy guys that aren't as big, who aren't traditional X body types, are winning at the flanker in the X position because they can just run past a guy and you scheme it up to where you can get them out of press coverage. You see a lot of teams like the Dolphins and the Rams come to mind as teams that recently have really gotten creative with their scheming of receivers in unique ways, moving them around the formation, cheat motions, all of these things that we've seen in the past couple of years that make you wonder. And here's where the question comes in. The slot only archetype, Xavier Restrepo comes to mind. Is that still viable in the NFL? Like, what's the utility of that? And so we kind of asked Brian Callahan that question. Is that still a prototype of receiver that can work in today's NFL when they don't have the versatility to play outside. Maybe they don't even have the versatility to play special teams, but they are a big winner in the slot, in the short area only. And here's what he had to say.
There's definitely a route tree inside that takes a particular skill set to do. There's teams I think you're finding more and more have more of slot receivers because formations are condensed, and so a lot of things are inside the numbers, and it's you're kind of working with like 2 or 3 different versions of slot players. I think the Rams are a good example of that style of offense. But there's a lot of different ways you can use players, and there's a lot of different body types that you can use inside. But there is a certain skill set you have to have. There's a recognition you have to have and a feel, because everything inside is different than it is just going one-on-one with a corner or just being able to see a corner and a safety.
So the biggest takeaway for me from that, and Austin, I want to hear what you think here in a moment, is that, just because you've got a number of different shapes and sizes and skill sets lining up at slot, or a guy that we're going to talk about here in a minute, Chimere Dike is going to play some slot for the Titans this year. We're going to talk about how much we think here in a minute. He and Xavier Restrepo are both going to line up in the slot position throughout the summer in camp. But the similarity ends there, right? Like the alignment is what is the same, but the route tree that they're running is not the same. The things that you have Xavier Restrepo doing out of the slot, the things that you had a Kyle Phillips type doing out of the slot, is not the same as these. You hear about these big slots that win on the inside, and they do because of the mismatches that they get and the way that they can exploit the spine of a defense. It's not because they're doing the same thing that Restrepo's doing, shaking a guy out of his boots and losing him in a phone booth, right? And so I think that's where you still do find utility in guys that are slot-only guys. Now, I think the uphill climb for them is the fact that they are specialists and lack that versatility, because when it comes to roster cutdown day, as much as you love a guy that's awesome at one thing, you can only have so many players on the team. And when a guy offers you the ability to play all 3 positions or be an ace special teamer, it's really hard to turn that down.
Yeah, versatility is key when it comes to how can you be an asset for a team or a company or whatever. And the more you can do, the more valuable you can become, for sure. So, Bork says DK is lining up in the slot to run straight, right? More likely than
straighter,
not.
Yeah, straighter than Restrepo would, yeah.
Then Restrepo is a change of direction guy, and something that, I've blessed with the boys the last couple of weeks have had JC Latham and Golden Tate on. 2 guests that are very locally interesting.
2 Titans legends.
Yeah, right. And Golden Tate talked about
That's
that.
True.
But Golden also talked about like the fantasy football aspect of being a receiver, of like you might do some things late in the game. Like what if for the game you have 4 catches for like 27 yards, but 3 of those catches converted third downs in the fourth quarter and your team won, but it was like 3rd and 4 and you got 5, right? That's huge. But fantasy players like, you suck, man. You're washed.
Right. In your coach's eyes, you're the MVP.
But you won the game. Like you made a game-winning impact plays.
Yep.
But that doesn't show up in the box score with situations, right? So in my opinion, I think there is a skill set. When I hear Brian Callahan talk about slot skill sets, it's not even athletic skill sets that I look at. It's a feel. It's an instinct. It's a learned skill of getting open with your mind and not your feet.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think so. Yeah. Because
there's more traffic in the middle of the field, right?
It's savvy. It's understanding.
It's understanding. Right? It's slowing. It's feeling defenders and knowing where a defender is moving, knowing how to take a half step one direction to create an extra yard separation the other way, especially in the zone, right? It's like guy knows how to get open in the zone. How? Because he knows how to manipulate a defender without going very far or moving very fast. And so that is where I think a slot guy is having to manipulate. Like if you're in the slot, you have maybe a nickel corner or somebody across from you lined up again in front of you. You've got inside linebackers. to the inside of the formation that have their eyes on you. You have safeties over the top that have their eyes on you. And then if you do have an outbreaking route, then you have a corner on the outside who could be out there with it if it's a zone, right? So you have more defenders with their eyeballs on you just because of your alignment, rather than if you're on the outside, it's less. Inside linebackers aren't worried about the X guy out there, right? So it's how can you manipulate receiver or manipulate defenders with your slight movements that are not your overall just like beating a guy one-on-one. So I think that is where I view the slot skill set as being very valuable. And it doesn't matter what body type you are. You could be my size and Xavier Seppo's speed and know how to do that very well, or you can be Terrell Owens and do that very well too.
I mean, Julio Jones is the example that comes to mind when you talk about guys whose body type doesn't match the expectation for what that body type is going to do, right? Like the way that Julio became a Hall of Famer, frankly, is that he's built like AJ Brown, but he can corner like a Lamborghini. Like the guy shouldn't be able to move the way that he does at his size, and that's how he won. And it again became a Hall of Famer. Other side note, when you mentioned the Golden Tate thing, the fantasy thing, the counter opposite, by the way, right now in the NFL, my example of the guy that doesn't win the game but does win the fantasy is Wan'Dale Robinson. He is the king of the outrageous stat line. Like last year, he had a number of games where I pulled it up actually. His last game, 10 receptions for 43 yards. Just volume going nowhere, absolutely nowhere. So that's the counter opposite that Golden Tate's talking about there. I think that ultimately, because that was a big question we were talking about amongst ourselves, the media at Tuesday's OTA, and we're going to continue, frankly, because the Xavier Restrepo question continues to dominate the conversation. What utility does not just he individually, but that skill set have to this team?
Yeah.
What I came away from, and this is kind of how I'm going to put a bow on it before we get some sorting here. I think that the way that the Titans coaching staff wants to operate on offense, the way that they want to deploy their receivers on offense, might matter just as much, if not more, to Xavier Restrepo's chances of making the team and Xavier balling out. Like I think there's a world in which Xavier could look like, a bona fide top 5 receiving talent on this team, maybe even better than that. Clearly an NFL player throughout the preseason and throughout training camp and joint practices and all of this. And it's like, wow, this guy's clearly got it. And they just don't have a seat at the table for him. I mean, you as a hiring manager, Austin, sometimes you come across guys, you're like, this guy is so talented. I wish we had a role for him. And I don't know. I think the Titans.
Here's the thing, though.
Restrepo.
You find a role. You find the role for that guy.
You make it. Yeah. Well, that's what a good hiring manager does, right? So maybe that's the conversation with the Titans is if this guy is what we think he can be,
But it's going to take away from something else.
Right. So let's talk about who, because you got to take a seat from somebody. So who's
So let's do this. We have our Harry Potter sorting hat. We are going to go through 13 receivers.
Yep.
We're going to start with locks.
Yep.
Who are locks to make this team Titans wide receiver style? So who is a Titans wide receiver roster lock right now?
Can I change the way that this question's asked just slightly?
Yeah, I have not sent the tweet yet, so yes.
Okay. Because my favorite part of this, everyone I've talked to the past 2 days seem to have a different number. How many guys do you think are locks?
Okay, we'll do both those.
Okay. I want to get to the number.
That's fine. We can do that. I think that'll work itself out.
All right.
So who are Titans wide receiver locks to make the roster? Locks. That's it. Like guaranteed locks.
Nothing could happen in the next 3 months to make them not on this
injuries.
team.
Injuries are like
right.
Right.
Duh,
Injuries are the outlier that we can't really guard against. But who are absolute roster locks at the wide receiver position? We'll get to those here coming up in a second. But first, the Bone and Joint Institute just kind of thought about injuries that sometimes they pop up out of nowhere and you can't control it. And it's just something you have to deal with. And as an adult in real life, injuries are a massive, massive inconvenience. They disrupt your family. Maybe if you're a parent, they disrupt playing with your kids. If you're a grandparent, same thing. If you are just working through something physical, it also is a massive inconvenience for your work life, your social life, and everything. It's just hard to relax with certain injuries. So make sure you don't let those linger. Don't just cross your fingers and hope it heals itself by toughing through it. Go get it checked out. If it's really bothering you, go get it checked out because you have the best expert team in the region at the Bone and Joint Institute in Franklin, Tennessee, off I-65 and Highway 96. They're very efficient with their process. They can get you in and get you out with your life and address that injury that is giving you problems. They have experts for anything, whether it's a foot. My guy, Dr. Jeff Watson, phenomenal, helped me with plantar fasciitis a couple years ago. Then you've got Dr. Scott Arthur, who's done my ACL surgery now going on 16 years ago. Crazy enough.
Whoa.
So, yeah. So they got you covered right there at the Bone and Joint Institute online, boneandjointtn.org.
There is so much more to say, but first make sure you have liked the show and then head on over to google.com and leave a 5-star Google review.
Google.com.
This made me think
nobody goes to google.com.
Well, there's a clip that's making its rounds on Twitter, and if you're chronically online, you'll know what I'm talking about, of a guy that like goes to Google, searches Google in Google, and then clicks on Google. And then all his friends make fun of him. Like, have you ever done that before where you accidentally search the thing that you're on? Okay, apparently not. This guy did.
Is that like looking for your sunglasses when they're on top of your head?
Exactly. Or the watch that's on your wrist.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting a lot of chats that are throwing me off here. We're going to get to all your chats here in a second. Make sure you've left a 5-star Google review. That is what I need you to do. It is the easiest thing in the world. You just search A to Z Sports in Google and leave a 5-star review. Say whatever you want. We read them. We appreciate them. They make us feel warm and fuzzy inside when you're kind, which you're much kinder there than you are in the chat for some reason. So we appreciate those. Okay. Now,
roster locks.
Roster
Wide receiver roster locks.
And someone in the comments asked if we had a graphic. I realized I did have one in the archives for a thing that I did on YouTube earlier. So here we go. Here are the receivers.
How about that?
How about that? Didn't make that for this morning, but I do have it. So here they are. I believe this is updated. So take a look at that while I scroll to the top of the comments here. Guys that are locks to make the roster, and you're not going to believe it, but Calvin Ridley is the most common answer so far.
Well, you have 4 players in bold on this graphic, Easton.
I do. And you know what? We're going to talk about how I don't think I disagree with my past self on this.
So
we're a little change here. So ignore that part, frankly, because I don't believe it anymore.
The asterisks are rookies, just
yes,
for clarity.
Thank you.
Right?
Yep. Those are the guys that are rookies. Calvin Ridley locks, according to Darius, are Ridley, Ellick, DK, and Lockett. So the order that I have here. What Chris says Broderick Roberson. I don't know who those people are. Titans.
I think Broderick Roberson is a commenter.
Okay, never heard of that guy.
He was replying. See, look, they're having a conversation.
Oh! I see. Excuse me, Broderick.
Yeah,
did not mean.
Well, I think Roberson throws you off because it's like, oh, Reggie Roberson, right?
That's who I was thinking. 100%. I was like, that guy's not here. Titans Scout says Ridley, Lockett, and a Humanor. Oh, so not even interesting. One of the 4th-round rookies, but not the. Gosh, I gotta stop doing that. Thank you, Io Manor.
We're gonna fine you every time.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna accidentally say it to his face one time, and it's gonna be uncomfortable.
How about this? How about I fine you a nickel because he wears jersey number 5 every time you mispronounce it?
Okay, a nickel. So 1 nickel in the jar so far. Lockett and Jefferson can be replaced. Okay, that wasn't the question. Ridley is a lock. We're kind of all over the place. Ridley, Lockett is a lock. No pun intended. Ridley and Lockett are the only ones, according to Cause. Lockett, Ridley, and Jefferson, according to Bustin' Diamond. So we're kind of all over the. Tall Texan says Ridley, Lockett, Jefferson, Xavier. I think he's just naming everyone he thinks is going to make the team. Not the question, Tall Texan.
Mm-hmm.
So the only guy that's consistently on everybody's list is Ridley for obvious reasons.
Yes.
And then I would have thought, Austin, that the rookies, the pair of 4th-round rookies, would be included in everyone's list, but they aren't on everyone's list. What do you say? What's the number? How many guys? How many guys do you think are locks? Because I heard my friend Braden Gall, who I love and respect, say 6 the other day, and I was like, 6 are locks? He said that on the internet. So I think that's crazy. I think the number's far lower than that. Not far, but lower.
Okay. I mean, could you make an argument that Calvin Ridley is the only roster lock?
No, you couldn't make that argument. You can try, but it's not going to work.
Like pure lock.
Yeah, you can't make that argument.
Okay.
There's nothing the 2 4th-round rookies can do to not make the team.
You think so?
I know so. Well, when was the last time? First of all, when was the last time this team cut any drafted rookie?
Are you serious?
Drafted?
Yeah.
Before they ever made the team in the first place? The first summer? Am I missing an obvious one here?
I mean, that happens. It's not crazy.
When was the last? Okay, so I'm asking, when was the last time this team?
Fitzpatrick, Brady, Breeze in the same draft.
Neither made the team.
Theo Jackson. Yeah, it's not
Theo
like
was. Yeah. Okay. So
it's
right.
not
You're
crazy.
Right. Okay, but it's been 3-4 years.
Day 3 guys get cut all the time.
Okay, were those guys 4th-round picks? Were they 4th-round picks at a position
Dez
they
was.
need? Okay. Damn it, Dez. All right, Dez is a really unique example of a terrible pick that everyone knew.
But hey, it's on the board.
Okay, fine. I take all that back. My point remains, though. My initial point, which wasn't wrong, that those guys aren't not making the team. There's nothing they can do to not make the team.
So I think we have
Dez is such a unique example. That's so different.
He was so bad. He was so bad. Like
you knew the moment he was picked, he was bad. Everyone knew this. These guys are not. These guys you knew weren't bad when they were picked. And the Titans weren't nearly as desperate receiver at that point, by the way.
So I think if you're talking like roster locks, like Calvin Ridley is the most right. He's like double locked. He's like you got the deadbolt and the doorknob locked. Like that's Calvin Ridley, right? Yeah. And the chain, right on the top.
I mean, he could be fishing with Jeff right now, and that'd be that wouldn't impact anything.
Don't get me started.
I had to bring it up at some point today.
Golly, I think the 2 rookies, Io Manor and DK, are roster locks. But I'm just going to stick with my my analogy here. No deadbolt, just the doorknob.
Just the doorknob on the 2 rookies?
Yeah, it can be picked. You can credit card that thing open.
So, I like that. Old school. Do you... So 3, is that your number of guys that are locked?
I'm not done.
Okay. So you're up to 3.
I think Tyler Lockett is also just the doorknob.
So 4.
So I'm at 4. But like Calvin Ridley is doorknob, deadbolt, and the chain on top of the door. Locked. Okay. Triple locked.
Okay.
I think the other 3 are just the doorknob. They can be broken into.
Okay.
With in many ways.
I hear you. So not a lock then. That sounds like likely.
No, the door is locked. But that's what I'm saying. Like the door is locked, right? But
are there tiers to locks?
Yes. I just like all the time. There are tiers to locks
in real life, literally on your door, yes. But in the context of guys,
I think there should be. I think Calvin Ridley is more of a lock than anybody else who you could consider a lock.
Which means the other guys aren't actually locks. You should
right. So that's why I asked you the question: is there a conversation of Calvin Ridley being the only true lock? And you said no.
Yeah, I think absolutely not. Yeah.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
You think Calvin Ridley and DK and Io Manor are protected by the same security defense?
I do. Yes.
Crazy.
They have the same ADT plan.
No.
Yes. I'm telling you, man. Okay. So 4 is your final answer?
4 is my final answer.
Okay. My final answer is also 4, but not the same 4.
Yeah, you're gonna swap vet for vet, aren't you?
I am. I no longer, after watching some practice, having some conversations, I no longer think that. Listen, Tyler Lockett is. I'm not saying that I don't think he's going to make the team. I do think he's going to make the team. He is at the very top of the likely tier for me in our sorting hat here. Mm-hmm. But, and I said this is one of my way too early takeaways on the Monday show whenever we did those, I think Monday.
Yep.
I really do think Van Jefferson is a lock. So I think Ridley, no, I do. I think Van Jefferson is protected by the same amount of roster security right now. I do as Ridley and DK and Io Manor.
No.
I do.
There's no way.
I think that there's no world in which those 4 don't make the team. I've done a 180, entire 180 on Van Jefferson. I was dead wrong about him based on his Pittsburgh tape. Now, to be clear, just because I think he's making the team does not mean I think he's going to be good. Because I still have watched the Pittsburgh tape last year, and while it wasn't the best situation in the world for a receiver, it was bad.
I'm going to see if I can summarize why you have Van Jefferson as a roster lock, but also don't think he's going to be very good.
Okay.
The reason why he's a roster lock is because half of your roster locks at the position are 4th-round draft pick rookies. And so you need a veteran presence there as a security blanket to make sure that the 4th-round rookies aren't being overexposed, because that's how thin you are at the position. That is my take on, or my prediction of your Van Jefferson opinion.
Yes. That's a part of it, but honestly, I think the primary thing is that, again, it's what a guy's going to be able to do on Sundays and what a guy does to earn his spot in practice are similar but not the same to me. And I think throughout the practice and the preseason and the joint practices that they're going to do this summer, I don't see how Van Jefferson, based on what I've seen already, and again, I'm shocked that I feel this way, but it's just, I'm being honest. I don't see how that guy doesn't differentiate himself as
I think he's
clearly different caliber of receiver talent that has to make the team.
I understand. I think you have roster locks. I think there are roster likelies. And I think you could say Van Jefferson is, for me, he's a likely.
I think that's a reasonable take.
I
feel a little more strongly than that.
Is Tyler Lockett a likely for you?
Yes, 100%. I will be quite surprised if Tyler Lockett doesn't make the team. Right. But I want to talk about, I think there's a path, because I'm not just talking theoretically here. I think I can outline the path to how Tyler Lockett doesn't make this team. I can't with Van Jefferson right now. I don't think I can. I think he's too good looking in practice to do that.
Because you have 3 preseason games and 2 joint practices to look at. I think the path for Van Jefferson to not make the team is if Alec Iomanner is a beast.
I don't think it matters.
I think it does.
Iomanner's not taking his seat. Like Iomanner, because we both think he's a lock. So it doesn't matter. He's already.
But it's an opportunistic move, because Van Jefferson does not play special teams, right?
I don't think so.
He does not. I think so. Iomanner is a beast in this path, right? In this hypothetical world where we're trying to find the path for Van to not make the team. And look, I think Van's gonna make the team. I think he's likely to make the team, not a lock. But if Iomanner is a beast, he is not playing special teams. If he is not a beast, which is more likely, then he's probably likely to do some special teams, or at least be trained on it.
Yeah, right? I mean, if he's not incredible, he's definitely playing special teams. He's
correct. But if he's a beast, he is not on teams because he is your wide receiver 2.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
So now Van Jefferson gets knocked down a peg from the wide receiver, not a special teamer. You lose a special teamer because Iomanner's a beast. Now you got to find that's the way. That is the way that Van doesn't make it. Is Iomanner, you cannot keep him off the field. You cannot have somebody be a redundant roster spot of him. And Van would be the closest thing to a redundant roster spot. That's the path. Is it going to happen? Probably not.
I hear what you're saying. I just don't. I think you have to have somebody because in a minute I'm going to explain to you how I think Lockett could miss the team, and it doesn't have to do with the guy that's taking his seat at the top of the food chain, depth chart. It has to do with because when that seat is taken and you're bumped down, you're then in a competition with the riffraff that we're about to talk about, and one of those guys has to beat you out, right? Like if Van Jefferson's primary role is taken by Iomanner, somebody else, he's still going to be your wide receiver 5, 6, or 7, unless one of those guys takes his seat. He's too good.
But I think wide receiver 5, 6, and 7 has to have special teams value.
Good looking. They traditionally do. But I think in this case,
They always do. Not tradition. They always do.
your wide receiver 5 doesn't have to be a special teamer. I'm sure I could
Then
find
he's
examples.
inactive. Then he's inactive on game day.
I don't know if that's true either. Especially
If he has zeros, if he is your
high volume passing team and rotates well.
If he is your 5th best wide receiver option and he has no special teams value, he's probably not one of the 48 guys wearing a jersey on game.
I'm saying yes, probably. Usually that's the case. I'm with you.
Yes.
I just think that I'm sure I could dig up examples.
Okay. So do you have any, just to continue to move this along?
Yeah.
Because we initially were like, we'll talk about this topic for like 45 minutes to get the trivia.
You always know it won't be.
Here we are, 35 minutes. We've asked one of our questions. We've kind of gone to the likely. I have Tyler Lockett. I'm sorry. I have Van Jefferson as likely because I have Lockett as a lock.
Mm-hmm.
You have Lockett as likely. Are there any other of these guys who are likely to make the team in that bucket for you?
No.
Yeah, I only have one likely.
My heart is screaming at me to include Bryce Oliver, but I can't right now.
No. So that's where we're going to go next. So toss-up time. Who is a Titans wide receiver toss-up? A lot of dudes can be in this. So just to kind of foreshadow, we have 2 more categories to sort. Toss-ups and long shots. So don't put your long shots in the toss-up category. Don't put your toss-ups in the long shot category. Right? Split them. So you've got a lot of guys. You've got, to my math, 8. They're either toss-ups or long shots.
Well, in Austin, how many seats are we competing for here? Right? That's the other question.
6 or 7.
Right. That's the question. What do we think? Are we talking about one more? Because you and I agree, like we're splitting hairs on the first 5 guys, right? Because I think I'd imagine everybody in the chat will be surprised if any of those 5 guys don't make the team, right? The 3 veterans in Ridley, Lockett, and
let's just say
Jefferson.
7. Let's just say 7 for the conversation. So we get 2 spots open, right?
Okay. I just want we don't have to make this a big conversation today. We can revisit it, but something that I'm going to write about at some point in the next week or 2. I feel very strongly that they're for sure keeping 7 receivers. I don't think they're keeping only 6. I think they're going to keep 3 tight ends instead of 5, and they're going to keep 3 running backs because anybody that would be your 4th running back on this team would blow. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to give you a 7th receiver.
Fair enough. I like it. So, and also 2
and only 2 quarterbacks from your mouth to God's ears, please.
There you go. All right, let's get the toss-ups on this wide receiver.
So why do you toss? And there's a lot of guys in here. Just one last thing. This riffraff, there's some intriguing guys. Like it's worth keeping 2 of these guys, I think.
For sure. All right, toss-ups. But first, let me tell you guys about sports analytics and the nationally recognized program for sports analytics education at Lipscomb University. We get asked all the time, hey, how'd you get into this? How'd you get into sports media? Well, here's my path. Boom, 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 boom. Easton, your path is completely different than mine. It's completely different than Zach's, completely different than anybody else's.
Everyone's, I think.
For everybody. There is no correct path. There is no wrong path. But a correct path could be you going to Lipscomb University's sports analytics program and doing that online and getting real life education in the industry and using that to jumpstart your career, because we all love sports. It is a passion. You're watching the show because you love sports for one reason or the next. If you want to turn that passion into a career like we have been lucky and privileged enough to do, Lipscomb University can help you do that with their sports analytics program that's all online. Lipscomb University is in Nashville. It doesn't mean you have to be in Nashville to do this. So take advantage of it. It's one of the few around the country in a growing lane and growing path for colleges across the country. But jump in to Lipscomb University's sports analytics program to turn your passion into a career.
There's so much more to say. First, make sure you have liked the show and then go to Google, search ATOZ Sports, leave us a 5-star review. Very helpful for our company, our Google authority, all of these things that do matter dearly to the site. So help us out in that way. We appreciate it.
Wide receiver toss-ups. I'll let you, so these are not, we have long shots and toss-ups. We're going to kind of probably combine the conversation here.
Yep.
That's just natural to do. So wide receiver toss-ups. Easton, what are you seeing in the chat first?
I am scrolling and I am seeing Burks and Jaquan Jackson from Eric. Jason thinks that Mason Kinsey is a toss-up. Michael thinks that Bryce Oliver is a toss-up. Adrian says hot take: Bryce Oliver is not making this team. Ira Hoshi thinks Jaquan is a toss-up due to his return ability. Steven says Burks and Jackson. Wow, I am really surprised by the names that I'm currently reading. Toss-ups are Restrepo, Oliver, and Prochet. Now we're back on the track that makes sense to me from Darius. His long shots are Burks and everyone else. So, yeah, I'm seeing a surprising. Jack says, at what point do we term Burks a roster pirate? Well, listen, he's on a rookie deal that he has every right to play on or not play on. And he'll be gone soon. All interesting. Okay. Oliver, DK, Restrepo, and Burks, according to Kenneth. So he does not think that DK is anywhere near a lock. He thinks that he's a toss-up.
Or likely.
Or, yeah, or even likely. He thinks that he's a 50-50 coin flip guy. Oliver and Jefferson from Denise. Restrepo and DK. I'm really surprised by how many people think DK is. I'm going to talk about him in a second. Put a pin in DK. So, Austin, what's your answer, I guess, on toss-up guys?
Bryce Oliver for sure is a toss-up. Xavier Restrepo is a toss-up. And I think James Prochet is a toss-up.
Okay, so we have the same list.
So those are your three.
Yeah.
Which makes us have the same long shots.
Yeah, I don't think all long shots are created equal. For example, Treylon Burks and Jaquan Jackson, I would put irresponsible money on both of them not being on this team. I think that there is 0.00% chance. I also think the same case is made for Mason Kinsey, who it just is what it is. What it is.
Assistant captain Mason Kinsey.
Co-captain Mason Kinsey to me. Yes, of course. Excuse me. And I wrote about it as much yesterday. But that's that he'll be like Kinsey is for sure a practice squad guy unless he gets picked up elsewhere. Burks and Jackson.
Well, so who's the long shot that haven't? You said not all long shots are created equal.
The only long shot that I'm eyeing as like maybe is he a toss-up? Is he not? The only guy, and this is going to surprise some people. Number 13 on this list, Colton Dowell.
Really?
No one's considering him for good reason because he's been nothing. He's not been around, right? We've not seen him hurt. We've not seen him. He's been out of sight, out of mind. But he's been getting a lot of run at practice, a lot of targets at practice. And I've had some conversations with people about him. And you want to talk about a guy that would be your seventh receiver because of their special teams ability. That's the path for Dowell, is if he becomes a special teams ace for them. And he does have that long speed to be a gunner, and they need gunners. And so
that's how he got hurt, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I think so. So he and Prochet are kind of fighting for that special teams ace seat, if such a seat exists. So I don't feel good enough about that yet to call him a toss-up.
See, here's why. Yeah, he's not.
He's the only one that if a month from now, I could theoretically see my mind changing and being like, you know what, maybe he is, based on what happens.
Because he had the worst, like tearing your ACL sucks, brutal. Right? But there is a good time to tear your ACL, and there is a bad time to tear your ACL. The bad time to tear your ACL is when Colton Dowell tore it, which is like week 16.
Right.
And then it robs you of an entire season.
But now
the good time to tear your ACL
19 months past it or something.
Like, honestly, like as much as it sucked for Harold Landry to tear his ACL on like August 30th, like the gap between training camp ends and the season begins, at least it was like, okay, that one season's affected, but you've got a full 12 months before the next one. Like,
you'll be good.
Take it on the chin, you're all right. But that really, for Colton Dowell, at the end of your rookie year, Jack Conklin had the same thing towards ACL in the playoff game. His third year,
I think.
Yeah. And that was a big problem on, did the Titans pick up his fifth-year option? I don't know. He's coming off a serious injury and concussion. He's had another injury after that. And so there's a right and wrong time to tear your ACL. All of it sucks. But I think Colton Dowell he's going to year 3, and you've got like very little data on
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
because he was a 7th-round pick.
Yes.
So
So like,
I think why I think Colton Dowell lands perfectly in the long shots is because he is a perfect practice squad guy.
he is, and I think that's where he's likely to land. But I just because put the list back up there. When I think about long shots, like how many, if any,
Hold on, time out. You told me to put the list up there, and then you did it anyway.
Yeah, I figured I'd save you the trouble, I guess.
I almost like double clicked it.
Of the 5 guys, yeah, that was bad on my part. Of the 5 guys that we have both deemed long shots, Burks, Sheffield, Kinsey, Jackson, Dowell, are any of them, like, to me, a long shot still has a chance, right? And Dowell's the only one that I think has any chance.
I think you can say long shot has a chance, or it's the nice way of saying they don't have a chance.
Right. And so that's why I want to, like, long shot complimentary is Dowell for me. Long shot derogatory is Burke, Sheffield, Kinsey, Jackson. Yeah. Now, can we talk about DK real quick? Because I want to explain this. I'm going to talk about DK, Restrepo, and Lockett, because this is my last point on the receivers here. And it's how Restrepo makes the roster. It's how Lockett may not make the roster. And it's what I think people are getting wrong about DK, all wrapped into one. So we saw a lot of people, this might be an article right here. We saw a lot of people not as confident as you and I in the chat that DK is a lock or even a likely. I mean, we had a number of toss-up options for DK. And I think that might be due to the fact that, pre-draft, we weren't talking about him. Folks don't know a ton about him. He played in a really crappy Florida offense. And in that Florida offense, he was used in about the most uncreative way possible. He was basically deep slant boy. And a lot of draft analysts, I think McShay literally referred to him as that when he reviewed the Titans draft class. He was like, oh, and they took DK in the 4th. Deep slot boy, deep slant boy. That's like all he did. And so I think, and hand up, I was wrong on this too, and I've changed my opinion on it this week. I think I was wrong about the way that I thought the Titans plan on using him. And I think I was giving the way he was used in college way too much credit when it was really just an uncreative, maybe misuse of his time and ability. He's not just this glorified perimeter deep threat that he was in college. And I think a lot of people, myself included, assumed, well, they'll just line him up at X. He'll be your backup X or whatever, or maybe your starting X, and he'll just be designated deep shot guy. And he's not really going to be able to impact the first, second level of the field. That's fine. Maybe he'll eventually develops a route tree that he can do that. But right now he can't. I think that he's your big slot. I think that he's your starting slot. I think on the depth chart, 1, 2, 3, he is one of the 1, 2, and 3 on the list because he is starting in your slot position if all goes to plan. I think that that's what they want to happen. And I think that means you bump Tyler Lockett down because Lockett's a slot only guy at this point. Do we agree on that? That at this point in his career, he's a slot guy. I think that then makes this a slot competition between Restrepo and Lockett, essentially. And it's break the pool stick and throw it at him and say, we can't have 3 guys that we got one that can play other positions in DK, but we want him to play slot. We can't have 2 other guys that can only play slot. So figure it out, fellas. And I'm not saying that Xavier Restrepo, the UDFA, is going to beat out NFL mainstay, veteran, savvy, awesome Tyler Lockett, incredible career. But Lockett's not here right now. He just had a baby.
He is here.
He's here. We're not seeing him on the field, right? He's not practicing right now. Yeah. We saw him. I think he was on the jugs machine on Tuesday. So like he's around. And I think the thing that he has going for him above all else is that he's the injury avoidance god, right? Like he's king health. And his whole career, that's been his thing, is that he's captain available. And as long as he is that, the Titans are going to value that because we know that they've really valued that throughout the offseason and the guys that they've added. But like, he's already nursing a little tweak, a little injury, right? Like that's already a thing. And if that is a thing at all throughout the offseason, and he's missing opportunities, missing time, and Restrepo is a dog and looks really good and looks like a guy you should keep on an NFL roster, what do you do? So that, again, I don't think that's a likely path I think that Lockett is going to make the team. But if he didn't, this is how it happens to me: is that DK is there, like every he checks every box, like, yep, we're good to go. All systems go on DK being your starting slot, and Restrepo proves himself worthy of a position that Lockett isn't available to do throughout the offseason. I don't know. Just putting it out there.
I just don't believe in DK's skill sets yet. I think he's just too raw.
We'll see. And that's, I'm with you that, like, I want to see it. A part of what I'm saying, like, I've got my reporter hat half on right now, in the sense that I think I have a good feel for what the Titans think. More so than what I think.
Yeah, no, that's what's most important.
right, exactly. And then we get to figure out whether they're wrong or not. So maybe they're wrong. They may be wrong, but I think the plan is to make DK your starting big slot. And I think so far, it's early, but so far he has really impressed them.
So far, the plan is still on the table, right?
Yeah, everything is going to plan.
Yes, but still not there yet, right? Like I get what you're saying. I'm picking up what you're putting down. So, all right. We did.
So last question. We got to answer.
Oh, damn it. Come on.
This is short.
Okay.
It's literally a 3-word answer. We said 2 spots were open, and we both named 3 toss-ups.
Yeah.
Call your shot. Who's the odd man out?
Prochet.
It's like, I'm in my head, I'm thinking Prochet or Restrepo, right? Like
Yeah. It's I think
that's what it's down to.
Bryce Oliver's most likely of the toss-ups to make it.
Agreed.
I think then, because you look at what is Prochet? What is James Prochet? Return guy, special teams guy, right? Well, DK, as somebody mentioned in the comments, gave Tennessee hell because he had a 30-yard punt return in that game in Neyland. Also had the game overtime forcing touchdown from Lagway and late in that game too. So, but I think DK can return kicks and punts.
What if, to your point earlier, what if he's a starter though?
I don't think that's gonna happen.
But if he is, let's just assume he's your starting slot. He's out there for 80% of the snaps on Sundays. Is he returning?
Honestly, yeah. If he's trustworthy,
okay, still do it.
Don't mess it up. Like, don't try to get too cute, because we've seen them fumble the ball so many damn times. So I want somebody who can catch a damn punt, not put it on the ground after they catch it.
So it's a different standard for you for Ayumanor and I'm not DK, because one's a returner. Because earlier you said if Ayumanor's you're starting.
Well, I talked about him being I said if he was a beast, though. I wasn't just talking about if I. By the way, that's 2 more nickels because you just went back to back.
I said Ayumanor.
No, you did not.
Chat.
You said Ayumanor.
Check that. Do I owe nickels or not?
You're at 15 cents.
Pending chat's approval.
You said Ayumanor back to back twice. But no, if he is a beast, yeah, you don't put him back there. But DK's could be your starting big slot, and he still is not too valuable to.
Okay, I said Ayumanor twice. Fine.
15 cents.
15 cents.
I'm gonna take it out of your paycheck.
Oh no.
But no, but for real, I think DK,
my family.
James Prochet is the least likely of the toss-ups to make it because his special teams and return ability would be used by others, right? Restrepo could return punts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bryce Oliver is a gunner. I think they like a lot. I think there's going to be some other players at different positions who can be gunners of the 7 receivers who make the team, right? So that's where I think Prochet makes it if there's an injury, if one of these rookies isn't ready to contribute on special teams because they haven't in college, right? These are also like team captain guys. Like DK return kicks, right? I don't think he's ever covered a kick in his life, probably.
No.
Right. So there's a difference
in high school, maybe, but yeah.
I doubt
it. Even then, yeah.
Yeah. 4-star Sheen Ray DK, probably not.
Too good.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'll say Prochet too, but I think it's really tight.
Ken says, didn't Easton say, don't be surprised if Prochet makes a team a few weeks ago? Yeah.
I did. And
What's changed since then? Van Jefferson's a lock, and DK's a starting slot. A lot has changed in a few
things
weeks.
are changing. But it still applies. Don't be surprised if he makes the team. I mean, he's one of the toss-ups. I think that he's got a 40% chance of making the team.
All right, King Beaches has lock in and like the show.
Thanks,
Absolutely. King. Hit that like button if you haven't yet. That would go a long way. Okay, 55 minutes is what we went on the wide receiver conversation. Easton, are you ready to redeem ourselves with sports trivia?
So ready.
All right. Shout out Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. That's where to turn. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Easton, are you ready?
Hit it.
All right, here we go. I will say this. After yesterday's terrible trivia, Easton, you reached out to our trivia consultant, Sam Phelan.
That's right.
And
we still have him on retainer as trivia consultant, actually. That's in writing.
Our trivia consultant. But Sam did it right, and we got 4 out of 9. Sam just got 5 out of 9.
Yeah, he knew the hockey one that we didn't know, which he made a good point. When in doubt, just guess the timely news topic. The answer was the Oilers, and they're in the cup, and I think that's what he did. Just when in doubt, especially with the NFL, MLB, if you're in the playoffs, NBA, like guess the teams that are still playing because they tend to put those guys in there.
Yeah, these are made for today. So
but we need to reframe yesterday. It's not that we did terrible. It's that trivia was uniquely difficult. We checked the stats. Everyone sucked yesterday.
There was only like 2 questions that were over 40% correct across
the whole bottom row is single-digit percentages. Yeah, it's outrageous.
Crazy. All right, so we start at the top left and we go all the way around.
Here we go. You ready?
Yep.
All right, NFL. Dave Krieg was a 3-time Pro Bowl QB during his tenure with this current-day NFC. Craig, cool. Who do you play for? 80 to 91. NFC West team. Cardinals, Rams, Seahawks, or Niners? This is before my time.
Seahawks.
Okay.
Because it says current day, because the Seahawks were in the AFC then.
Okay. Nice. Good call. Speaks softly and carries a big stick is a famous quote attributed to this U.S. president. That'd be Teddy Roosevelt. Theodore, I suppose. Sorry for... Wait, what? Theodore. Got it. Television. Eddie Murphy was a creator and lead voice role in this adult stop-motion animated sitcom that ran on Fox and the WB from 99 to 01.
Oh.
Stop-motion sitcom. Huh. I don't know. The PJs? Is that what it is? The PJs? Is that a thing?
Maybe. Not the JPs.
Okay, the PJs. Never heard of it. 5 medical students experiment with near-death experiences in this 1990 film starring Kiefer Sutherland, Julia Roberts, Kevin Bacon, Billy Baldwin, and Oliver Pratt. Some old head trivia today, man. I don't know.
It's not
Flatliners? Sure.
Yeah, Flatliners. People all over it.
Falling in love with me, possibilities. I look like all you need are lyrics from this 2018 Calvin Harris and Dua Lipa song. Oh, I know the song. What's the name of the song? I should get this one.
You should, because I
What is the name of this song? I didn't listen to it much, but I know it.
One Kiss.
I can't type today. Dwayne Johnson is a founder and chief energy officer of this brand of zero sugar energy drinks. Zero sugar energy drinks. That's a hilarious title. He's the CEO, baby. I don't know. I'm not a big energy drink guy. These are so out of my wheelhouse. Zoa? Sure.
Hold on. That's just one person.
I've seen a bunch. Oh, it's from the one guy.
Yeah.
It sounds right.
I've never heard of that energy drink.
Zoa. All right.
Okay.
Jesus Aguilar has an all-star year when he launched 35 home runs for this NL team in 2018.
Oh, 2018s.
Jesus Aguilar is a guy I know. That's at least a name that I recognize, but I I do not know what team he played for because I do not watch baseball besides the Braves. Chat. Brewers. See, when you send in answers with a question mark, it doesn't inspire confidence. Padres, Marlins. Okay, we're all over the board.
Ugh.
Somebody's got to know. Cincinnati? Question mark. I want somebody that knows it and says it in all caps because they know.
I swear I am ALNL dyslexic.
Oh, I don't know him even a little bit.
Yeah.
Zachary says he remembers him being a Marlin.
Brewers. There's a second Brewers one.
We've gotten a couple Marlins and a couple Brewers.
Jack says, don't watch pro baseball, so no answer. So don't comment.
Thank you, Jack. Marlins. All right.
Marlins.
I'm taking the all caps. Nope, you were confidently wrong. As a freshman, this Georgia wide receiver led the SEC in touchdown catches and receiving yards in 08.
AJ
Green. Celeb mashup.
Oh,
the guy.
Penn Badgley.
Yep.
How about that? How about me? Look at me.
That's rare for you to just know out of the rip. That's good stuff. The girl, I recognize that face. Who is that? This is the thing that Sam has a real gift for. Maybe he just knows celebrities more than us, but he could really nail these. Chat, we know who this girl is, right?
Yeah, she looks familiar.
No, Dick. Bad. Yes, we got the guy from you, Penn Badgley, also from Gossip Girl, I think.
Yes, Gossip Girl.
Almost like Gilmore Girls. Very different show.
Breaking Bad girl?
I don't think she's in Breaking Bad, is she?
I don't know. We got Penn Badgley, guys.
This is Penny Badgley. It is.
That's funny. Damn it.
Only because we don't
chat.
know that anyone. Bueller?
Ugh.
We're floundering here. The Vegas streak. Oh no, 9 straight over under hits.
That's not Katy Perry.
Amber. No. Katie's got bigger eyes than this. Well, we're just kind of floating adrift.
And
Boston Diamond sums it up. We are screwed.
Just say,
let's just say Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway.
It's fine. Not.
It's not.
Kristen. Let's try Kristen something.
Kristen Bell.
Who does this? No, it's not Kristen Bell.
No.
Close the ad. No, okay. It won't let me.
Just pick somebody.
Kristen Johnson.
There you go.
All right, who is this? Do we think it is? Brewers?
Brewers.
Okay. Who was the girl?
Only 6% though. Kristen.
Kieran Shipka? Okay, I was wrong. We don't know who this is, chat.
Yeah.
Kieran Shipka?
Yeah.
Who is that?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you? She's been in Twisters. I've seen none of these things. The Legend of Korra, Flowers in the Attic, Heroes. Okay, so I don't know how I'm supposed to know who this person is.
Well, you're not, so.
All right, well, that's the show.
She's from Chicago and the same age as Sam. I wonder if they know each other.
That's a great point. He would be the one to be like, oh, yeah, that's Kieran Shipka.
Yeah, she grew up down the street.
Yeah.
She's a Southsider. Damn it. All right, that's it for us. Make sure you guys hit that like button on the way out. We were better. Still not good.
Well, the bar was so low.
Tough draw. All right, guys. We'll catch you guys later. Also, live tonight is Buck for A to Z Sports Primetime. We'll catch you guys later on a Friday. Appreciate it as always.